Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Going Rounds podcast. And it's another Thursday and another show. This week, I'm a little pressed for time. I have an event going on this weekend that I'm going to. I don't know if any of you know it. Country Thunder. I'll be out there hanging out, chilling with all of my friends and having a good time. I'm not the biggest fan of country music, but hey, when it comes down to it, it's just a big party. You're pretty much hanging out in an RV, um, hanging out outside, walking around the camps, checking things out, talking to people, having a good time, drinking it up. So that's my kind of thing. I don't really care about the music portion of it for the most part, but it's fun to go to the concerts and have a good time with everybody watching the concert and listening to music and yeah, chilling. So I need to I need to be done with this at a decent time so I have time to do everything I need to do get ready for that because I was out of town for until yesterday. So I haven't had a lot of time to do a lot of things. So I'm pressed for time, but it's all good. I'm here doing a damn thing again. Like always, trying to keep it steady, trying to keep it going, always trying to stay consistent. So that's what we do. Uh there's you know a good recap of last week because that UFC pay-per-view was fucking awesome. The watch party podcast was fun. Tenant Trin, my daughter, was in here with me chilling, having a good time, laughing at us fools. And Clark joined in. DJ Magix was in here from the Rebel podcast. And Christo joined us for a little while too, which is pretty dope. He hasn't been on in a while, my brother. So I'm happy about that. We had a good time. And we all just hung out and fucking went insane with the end of that fight. The main event was dope. The fight was really good, and the outcome was even better. So we had a good time enjoying that. Go check out my TikTok. I have a reaction video to that with some effects, of course. So Going Rounds podcast, it's right there. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. Check it out. Twitter's Going Rounds Pod if you're looking for it. Yeah. And you'll see that scrolling at the bottom just to remind you the whole show. So go check it out. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with a friend. And the chat's open, so jump in. Say what's up. If you have a comment or a question, I always try to interact with everyone that gets in the live chat. And if you're watching this later or anything like that, I'll respond to messages too. So yeah, just leave something in there and I'll acknowledge. So it's a good way to have some fun and interact with the audience. So if you're out there watching, check it out. Anyway, here we go because we got some stuff to go over and I'm excited about this first portion. Some really big combat sports news. It's always fun when you have some good stuff to talk about and some big news that just happened actually yesterday. So that's even more fun. Before I forget, if you didn't get to watch the Watch Party podcast while it was on, go check it out. Or you can listen anywhere on any of the platforms that you listen to audio podcasts, because I'm on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, anything like that. Go check it out. Any of the older podcasts are all on there as well. Just a good way to just listen if you don't, have the time to watch the whole video. Spotify has a video as well, so you can watch there if you don't want to throw it on YouTube. But either way, check it out. Let me know what you think. Yeah, that's about it. So we're just gonna get right into it because, like I said, I'm pressed for time and I'm excited to talk about all this stuff we got going on this week. So let's get it going. I gotta start with some of the biggest news that happened this week. Like I said, it went down yesterday. Everyone's talking about it. We got Jake Paul versus natediaz for a professional boxing match. It's happening Saturday, August 5th. You can watch it on DAZN, apparently. DAZN pay-per-view. I heard it's going to be a $60 event. So everyone's jumping on this bandwagon of fucking being as expensive as possible. I get it. It's Nate Diaz. He's a big name. He's got a big following. This is a big fight, but I mean, really, it's bigger than the others that you've put on, Jake Paul and MVP. What the fuck? So anyway, it's brought to you by MVP Promotions and Real Fight Inc., which is Diaz's promotion. So maybe that's why they got to raise the price a little bit so that everybody gets a good cut. Whatever. I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna buy it because I have to see this fight. If you know me, you know I'm a huge Diaz brothers fan. Mostly Nate, but I love Nick too from back in the day. And yeah, I can't miss this one. I mean, I was excited when Jake Paul was fighting Anderson Silva. You know, the Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight was like whatever. It was cool to see he finally fought someone that's considered a professional boxer. So that was cool too. But this one, yeah, I'm excited for this one. You know, it's a good thing for Diaz getting out of the UFC and going into his very first thing after leaving the UFC is going to be this big boxing match. So we'll see how it goes. You know, it can only be up for him if he wins. I mean, that's going to be huge if he beats Jake Paul in the eyes of the casual fan, any fan that's watching this event, any fan that follows Jake Paul, Nate Diaz, anybody like that. Everyone, it's going to be big for everyone if Diaz wins. And obviously, if Jake Paul wins, you know, that's big for him too because he gets to bounce back from that loss against Tommy Fury. But here's the thing, you know, he fights a real boxer. I keep doing that. I mean, he's a professional boxer. Tommy Fury is a professional boxer. So there's nothing else you can really say about that. That's what it is. He's a professional boxer. So when it comes down to it, Jake Paul for the first time fights a professional boxer and loses by decision. It's not like he got knocked out, you know, or anything like that. So, but he lost either way. So now he's got to bounce back, and you know, everyone's talking shit about, oh, of course you're fighting someone that's smaller than you again. Diaz isn't that small, but he is smaller than Jake Paul. Jake Paul is like, if you put it in MMA terms, you know, he's basically a middleweight, and Diaz is used to be just a natural lightweight. Now it's more along the lines of, you know, a welterweight, like 170er. You know, Diaz probably walks around somewhere around 165, 170, something like that. And Jake Paul is just bigger. But Diaz, you know, with that Stockton slap and that Stockton attitude, he's going to come out and he's going to be ready for war. He throws punches in bunches. It's volumes for days on those punches. They may be at 20%. They may be at 60%. They may be at 50%. They may be at 80%. You never know. It's all over the place, but you're going to get hit by Nate Diaz regardless. So on top of all of that, he could take a fucking punch. And we know that about our boy, right? He can take a punch for sure. There's no doubt about that shit. So this is going to be fun because Jake Paul likes to throw those punches. That's what he likes to do. Just throw wild, crazy punches. And, you know, there's not a lot of real solid technique behind his boxing. But he has gotten a lot better than he used to be. And he just seems to keep getting better. So what's this going to bring, you know? Is Jake Paul going to come out better than he did before and show everybody what he's made of? Or is he going to come out kind of doing the same shit, hoping to land that big punch to knock him out? I don't know. I mean, that's why they're going to fight, so we can find out, right? And of course, there's been all kinds of beef during the last fight against Tommy Fury backstage. The Diaz camp and the Paul camp were just, you know, talking mad shit, beefing in the backstage area. There's videos all over the place, people throwing water bottles and all kinds of shit like always. So there's beef, there's heat, and it's going down now. So the contract's been signed, the date's been made, the venue is booked, Dallas, Texas, AT&T Stadium, I think it's called. And yeah, it's going down. So I'm excited about it, super excited about it, because just to see Diaz get in there and finally box. Everyone's talked about how good his boxing is for a long time, and that he's got some of the best boxing in the UFC. Regardless, he spars on the reg with fucking professional boxers, high-level professional boxers. So, he's no stranger to that game. And Jake Paul is just trying to keep his name relevant in that boxing game. And I guess this is a good way to do it if you look at it in the way that he thinks he for sure can beat Diaz. But I don't know, man. It's a toss-up because Diaz hasn't been the best in his past few fights. That fight against Leon. Well, I mean, he won his last fight, so what am I saying, right? He beat Tony Ferguson, and he looked pretty damn good in that fight. But, that's Tony Ferguson after everything. So, either way, he looked good in his last fight. But, before that, he fought Leon Edwards, who's now the champ, by the way. And it didn't look so good for him. He got beat up. He got touched up, as always. He got bloodied up, as always, though. All that scar tissue in his face from all those punches he takes. That's what happens, right? So, and at the same time, though, he also did that crazy fucking punch at the end of, near the end of the 5th round and wobbled Leon Edwards. A little more time, and who knows? He might have taken out Edwards. But that's the what ifs, like always, right? What up, Trend? Tenet Trend in the chat, coming to see what's up after that wild Saturday night of the Watch Party podcast. Trend was a little quiet, but she joined in and she celebrated with us. So, and she kept it going for me when I had to walk out, so that was dope. Thank you, Trend, again. Go follow her on Twitch and all of her social media, Tenet Trend. Look for her, follow her, like it, everything. YouTube, Week 2, subscribe, check it out. She's doing big shit over there too. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know. I mean, what's gonna happen here? I'm saying Diaz, of course, because I'm a fucking fan and I can't help it. But Jake Paul is shown to be legit against ex-MMA fighters. So what's the difference here, right? I mean, Tyron Woodley isn't as high-level striker, boxer. I guess more on the boxing side. He wasn't well known for his boxing in MMA. So, but Diaz is. So there you go. There's something to go off of. But I don't know. Here's some comments that were put out by them. Jake Paul says, my last fight didn't end the way I wanted. Now the world thinks I am vulnerable, when all I am is more focused than ever. My team wanted me to take an easy fight like KSI. Ooh, just roasting. But that's not how I'm built. So, they think KSI is the easy fight. He's not a professional whatsoever, technically. But he's been, doing big things in boxing too. So that's a fight that I'm sure we'll see at some point in time, because there's always been beef between him and Jake Paul. But Nate Diaz says, besides Canelo, he's the biggest thing in boxing. I'm here to conquer that. I'm the king of combat sports, and then I'm headed back to get my UFC belts. I fucked up Conor for acting out, and now here I am again like a superhero. So, that Diaz fucking Stockton shit talking's coming out as usual. And I'm surprised, that Jake Paul didn't say some more bullshit like usual. I did see a post of his on, I think it was Instagram, where it showed a headstone with Nate Diaz, and his caption was like a eulogy to Nate Diaz. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. But hey, I mean, it's always a possibility. That's the way shit goes. And Diaz will be Diaz, and it's not going to be crazy. It's not going to be crazy social media posts, but I'm sure any interviews he does, he's going to be talking mad shit. So, needless to say, I'm excited about it. I can't wait, and it's going to be exciting. And of course, I will cover all of it, and we'll get into all of it as soon as it gets closer. We have till August. What are we in right now? April, May, June, July, August. It's like 4 months away, but shit, time flies, right? You never know. But right now, this week, especially now, it's just some of the biggest talk in the fight game. So there it is. Let's move on. We got a little bit of a recap of PFL 2. We had Larissa Pacheco versus Julia Budd, and Jesus, why do I always forget these guys' names? Hold on. What happened here? Well, I don't know. Anyway, Larissa Pacheco, Julia Budd. That was a big fight I was looking forward to. Pacheco got the win by decision in the third round. Wow, it looks like they haven't updated their webpage, which is kind of weird. Let's do this. I didn't even look at that beforehand. I didn't notice that it was like kind of incomplete. It's almost like it just didn't get updated. They don't even show the points or anything like that. You know, I went over that last week and they don't have any of that going on this week. What is happening here? Oh, I see what I did. Oh man. Anyway, Larissa Pacheco got the win by decision. So against Julia Budd, you know, I mean, she did the same thing against Kayla Harrison, which was a shocker, you know, because that was such a highly touted fight. It looks like maybe one of the fights fell off from last week. But anyway, Aspen Ladd is someone I was highlighting last week as well, but she lost in a decision to Olena Kolesniak. And then, let's see, which other ones? Jorgen De Castro lost as well to Danilo Marquez. Amber Leibrock got a win. She got probably the most exciting win out of the whole card with a KO, head kick, and then finished it with punches on the ground. It was a crazy ass head kick, and it was being highlighted everywhere, so that was pretty dope. Congrats to her. But yeah, that was about it for that one. We'll move on to the next week's card, which is again every week with the PFL card. But this is PFL, what the hell? PFL 3. And this one has some pretty big names on it. So right there on that front page, you can see I don't know what's going on with their webpage, man. But you got Olivier Aubin-Mercier versus Shane Burgos, which is one of the biggest fights on that card. Both ex-UFC fighters. Aubin-Mercier is a title holder from last season, lightweight champion. Let's see. He's 17-5 versus Shane Burgos, who's 15-3. Burgos comes to fight though, man. He's up there with those heavy hitters in MMA in general. And Aubin-Mercier likes to grapple. He's good on the ground, but you know, he'll exchange punches as well. So that should be a good one. We got Natan Schulte versus Stevie Ray. That should be another good fight. And then the other one on that poster right there is Sarabusi and Jara Al-Silawi. I suck at pronouncing these names, but Sarabusi is one of the guys that's pretty popular right now. Returning champ. He is just one of the highly touted fighters in the PFL at the moment at welterweight. So that should be a good one. And I believe there was at least one other ex-UFC fighter on this card. Let me look through this real quick. Who the hell was it? Oh yeah, Cesar Ferreira versus Denis Boltsov. Ferreira was in the Ultimate Fighter Brazil and also in the UFC. That's a heavyweight bout. And then I believe that's it. Yeah. You know, there's a few other fights on there, but nobody that I recognize specifically. Should be a decent card. Couple of returning champs fighting on that card. And yeah, should be pretty dope. What am I doing? I had it all right here. Clay Collard was the other one I was thinking of, actually. But yeah, Delano Taylor, Magomed Umalatov. I'm not sure who that is, but Delano Taylor is pretty dope. And then there's the rest of it. A lot of names that I cannot pronounce. But yeah, should be a decent card. That's happening tomorrow night. So catch that on ESPN Plus, I believe, is how you watch. And yeah, PFL just going strong every week with a card for their regular season that's starting right now. Happening right now, I should say. Anyway, moving on. We got to get to this recap of UFC 287 because, man, it was such a sick card. I had fun watching it on the Watch Party podcast that we did. You know, it started off rough. I had some technical difficulties, of course. It's the first time I kind of had the setup where I had someone in here in the room with me. So a second mic connected, had a few audio issues. No big deal, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, we had a good time. I got some good content out of it. And either way, it's always fun to hang out with a few people and watch the fights together. You know, it's different than when you're watching it at home with a bunch of people over where you're like getting talked at back and forth. You know, it's a little more tamed and toned down when you're on the podcast. But it's still stressful for me because, you know, I'm trying to make sure anything that's going wrong doesn't go wrong, but it still happens. It's all good. It comes with it's what I signed up for. That's pretty much what I should say. So fuck it. And it's fun and I like doing it. So we keep it going. But yeah, this was a damn good card all the way around, you know, bottom to top. I mean, that Sam Hughes versus Jacqueline Amarim. First of all, I wasn't exactly I wasn't too caught up on Amarim, but after watching her fight, I did remember who she was. You know, it's one of those fighters. It's just on the come up right now, and I just hadn't really kept up with her. But yeah, she did her thing. I mean, she gave Sam Hughes a fight. Sam Hughes was the underdog, but she just couldn't get it done. Or I'm sorry, Amarim couldn't get it done against Sam Hughes. Hughes got the win by decision. And it was a pretty exciting fight, too. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of groundwork. Not too bad to start off the card. Let's see. Lupi Godinez versus Cynthia Calvillo. Lupi Godinez got that win over Cynthia Calvillo, which, man, that's a tough one for Calvillo because that put her down. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was her 5th loss in a row, spanning from 2020. One fight in 2020, 2 in 21, 1 in 22, and this one in 23. 5 straight losses, and that led to her getting released from the UFC. So, I mean, it's a damn shame. I'm surprised she was still there after 3 losses, after 4 losses. So after a 5th loss in a row, it was about time for them to cut ties, and that's exactly what happened. So, unfortunate for Cynthia Calvillo, but big ups to Lupi Godinez for getting that win by decision. It was a split decision, so it's not like it was a complete domination, but still, you know, it happened. And yeah, sorry, I got distracted by something moving that wasn't supposed to be moving. Then we had Joe Pyfer versus GM3, Gerald Meerschaert. Man, Pyfer brought the heat. That boy came out to win and fucking, you know, took out all of his energy on Meerschaert. Got that win. It was exciting. It was a good fight. Like I said, this fight card from bottom to top was just nuts. And it was such a good card all around. So many good fights. So many things to pay attention to. And I was sad that I actually missed the Kelvin Gastelum versus Chris Curtis fight, which we'll get to in a second. But that fight was pretty badass too, and I didn't get to see most of it because I was having trouble getting things started and going for the podcast. So that's one of the prices I pay, and I've been so busy this week I didn't even get a chance to go back and watch it fully, but I caught the highlights. So, but yeah, Pyfer versus Meerschaert. I thought for sure Meerschaert had the win here ahead of time, but Pyfer came in and blew it out of the water and got that win. So Michelle Waterson, unfortunately, against Luana Pinheiro, lost again. So this makes 3 losses in a row for Michelle Waterson. Now, she is a big name. She's very popular in the UFC. And from what I understand, they love her there. So if Cynthia Calvillo got 5 losses in a row before she got cut, I guarantee Michelle Waterson's going to get another chance to see what she can do and redeem herself. So yeah, this isn't the end for her for sure, but she does need to start getting into the win column. I mean, her record is a bit salty, 18-11. That's crazy. And she's getting up there in age for a fighter. She's 37 years old. I like Michelle Waterson. I always have. I followed her career since she was fighting in Invicta. And she's just one of those big name people that has been around for quite a while. Fights at one of the bigger camps, Jackson Wink. But it's tough when you're getting that many losses in a row. So I hope she gets her shit together and starts putting those wins on the board. But yeah, like I was saying, Kelvin Gastelum versus Chris Curtis. So there was a little bit of controversy here because apparently in the second round, Chris Curtis got headbutted. Now, obviously, it's an accident. It wasn't it wasn't purpose, obviously, but it was an accident. But his gripe with the whole thing is, hey, you get 5 minutes to recover when you get accidentally kicked in the nuts, right? So if it was an accidental headbutt, why don't you get time for that? And the reason for him saying that is because, yeah, he was pretty, he basically was out on his feet, didn't know what was going on. So he said it himself. And, yeah, so that's unfortunate. And that's kind of what lost him the second round and ultimately the fight. So, but good on Gastelum. He needed that win big time. He was on I believe 2-fight losing streak. So that wasn't good for him. In his last 5 fights, in his last 6 fights, he was fucking 1-5. So he needed that win big time, and he got it, and it was impressive. It was a performance of the night. They got a bonus. So good on Kelvin. Sucks for Chris Curtis, but that kind of shit happens. And then you had the start of the main card, which was Raul Rosas Jr., the 18-year-old phenom, against Christian Rodriguez. So, Raul Rosas, this is his second fight in the UFC. He won his first fight by submission in the first round, which is pretty damn impressive. He looked really good in Dana White's Contender Series. But here's the thing. In the Contender Series fight, he did get tested a bit. He did get taken all 3 rounds, but he survived. And it was more good than bad. And that's why, being a 17-year-old in Dana White's Contender Series, of course they were like, we got to sign this kid. Plus, he's got a personality, and he's out there and he's outspoken. So it was kind of a shoe-in for the UFC, I guess. But unfortunately, he lost to Christian Rodriguez, who was definitely ready for this fight and knew that taking that win away from him was going to be good for him. So, and that's what happened. Unfortunately, it just seems like Rosas needs to work on, Clark was saying it on the podcast. Rosas just needs to work on his striking, man. No punches. He's all in on the takedowns and trying to get that dominant position and work for his submission. He's like, basically, it worked once, let me do it again. In the Contender Series fight that he fought in, he was throwing some crazy flying, knees and kicks and stuff like that. So I thought for sure that the last fight was just kind of one of those quick ones. Took the opportunity to get the submission because he, had the opportunity to get it and he took it. And it was fast. So like I said, in the first round. But this time he looked like he got gassed kind of quick. He came out at the bell and just dove for a takedown right away. And it was just a lot more of that over and over again. Losing positions. And he just looked frustrated. And I just think he needs to get a little more work in. Maybe get with a different team and some different coaches. From what I hear, he's coached by his dad and his brother, which is all good. But when you have all these high-level camps working against you, sometimes you need to mix in some work with another high-level camp and some other coaches. I don't know if he's still with them, but all I keep hearing is that he needs to, maybe get some other coaches, get in with a different camp with a lot more experience. And, Sugar Sean's saying he needs to take like 2 months off. 2 years off and really work on everything before he can be at this level. But that's not necessarily true. I just think he needs to get schooled a little bit. Maybe take a little time off, a little extra time. Don't rush into another fight. He was fighting somebody that was pretty much at his level on paper. But in the cage, a 25-year-old versus an 18-year-old, it's a big difference sometimes. So he definitely found that out. So that was unfortunate. But I'm rooting for the kid, and I hope that he, learns from this. That broke his undefeated, record, which is good too. Takes some pressure off. Like I was saying, there's a lot of pressure with that undefeated record to keep being undefeated. So maybe now that pressure's off his shoulders, focus on looking like a better fighter, being a better fighter. That way you stay in the UFC and continue with your, career moving forward. So, and there's nothing says that if it doesn't work out for him now, he gets cut, he goes and gets some experience somewhere else, and then comes back and, does the damn thing in the UFC. So, he's still very young. There's a lot of life ahead of him in the fight game, especially. So, hopefully it just goes and takes care of all that, gets better, comes back, and shows everybody what's up. So, and if he stays in the UFC while doing all that, even better. Moving on to one of the other big fights, Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. Holland with that fucking little left hook. He caught this kick, turned him around, bam, just kind of leaning forward, running after him with that left hook, and lands it right on the chin, which is good for him. Ponzinibbio didn't look like he, had a lot there. He was fucking up Holland with the leg kicks. Holland said that, his legs were fucked up from those kicks. So, that was one thing that was getting to him. But, Kevin Holland, he talks a lot of shit, and he's always talking about this, that, or the other thing, but you never know what's really happening with him, because then he comes out and just finishes some shit. It was a KO in the third round. So, it almost went all three, but he got that win. Ponzinibbio, he kind of had a problem with the stoppage, said it was a bit early, but if you could see there, he got dropped, and when you get dropped and go and just kind of face plant, there's not a lot you could do for arguing that one. That was a legit win, and that's all there really is to it. Kevin Holland keeps going, moves on with his winning ways. While he was coming off 2 losses, but that was to Khamzat Chimaev and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, which, fuck, those are big ass names right there. So he breaks his losing streak, which is awesome for him. And Ponzinibbio with his loss puts him, well, he had to win his last fight. So, back and forth, win, loss, that's okay. Just don't put a string of losses together, and he'll be all right. Anyway, moving on to another exciting fight that I was super excited to watch, and I knew it was going to be a banger. And look at that, with that kind of finish, fucking threw Yanez off his feet with that left kind of hook, or what was it, uppercut? Yeah, it was a hook. But yeah, he just kind of picked him up off his feet and dropped him and then finished it with punches. So Rob Font, man, he was the underdog in this fight, if I remember correctly. And yeah, he got that win with that TKO, which in the first round even. So that was quick as hell. They came out swinging. Good for Rob Font because, you know, everyone was kind of doubting him on that one. He was coming off of 2 losses. Jose Aldo and Marlon Vera, though. I mean, fuck. It's hard to win against those guys. And if I remember right, those were some banger fights too. Adrian Yanez was on the come up for sure. That broke a 5-fight win streak. He was undefeated in the UFC. Rob Font handed him his first loss. So there we go again with breaking that undefeated streak. You know, sometimes it's good for them. So we'll see what Yanez does with that and comes back and, you know, let's see what kind of damage he does to the competition. Maybe this is something he needed, you know, to get that first loss out of the way. But co-main event, Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal. I mean, this picture kind of says it all. Gilbert Burns dominated. He won by decision. Jorge didn't look too bad, but when it comes down to it, like, he kind of looked like he was out of shape a little bit. He looked real tired in the second round already. He was already looking tired, and that's tough, man. Sometimes, you know, when you're at the level he's at, I don't know, something happens, man. And if you're not 1,000% focused, shit goes south, and you're not ready. You come into certain fights and you're not in the best of shape. You know, he just didn't look like the Gamebred of old. And I thought he was out there to put on a huge show for the hometown crowd in Miami. He was hyped all week, but the energy in the cage did not match the energy outside of the cage, which is unfortunate. With this loss, that put him at 4 losses in a row. 2 to Kamaru Usman, 1 to that bitch Colby Covington, and then 1 to Gilbert Burns now. So that's 4 losses in a row. That kind of sucks, you know, especially when Burns is just continuously putting those punches on him and just landing left and right. He didn't like beat the shit out of Jorge, but he definitely dominated him. You know, these are some of the good punches he landed, but regardless, he got the win. And Burns is calling for a title. He said, only the title fight. I'm not taking no other fucking fight. He was fired up for sure, and he thinks he should be next in line for the title, but there's a lot of shit in the way. Colby is apparently going to be the next one up for the title. And there's a lot of Bilal Muhammad's up there. There's a lot of people in there. So, let me say, damn, I just completely lost track of what I was saying. Anyway, yeah, so he wants that title fight. Sorry, I got distracted there for a second, but he wants a title fight. That's what he's calling for here. And who knows? There's a lot in the way. So get in line, Gilbert, probably is what they're going to say. And then, of course, we all anticipated it because he said it. Masvidal did retire at the end of that fight. It's kind of a good way to go out. You know, he didn't get flatlined. He didn't get dropped and out cold. You know, he didn't win and he got beat handily, but it wasn't like a massive beating. So it's a good way to go out, you know. He's in his hometown. He's got his family there. You know, he was hugging his kids. He had his kids in the cage with him. And, you know, it's unfortunate that he had to go political with the speech afterwards. I would have rather heard him talk about all the good stuff for his career, but, you know, everyone does their thing and whatever they want to do. So it is what it is. But thanks to Jorge Masvidal, Gamebred, for all the memories and all the good fights, man. Like, one of the top fighters that I followed for a long time, that I remember knowing who he was every time I saw him, every time I heard his name, you know, good and bad, ups and downs, always a good time with Gamebred involved. And coming from the backyard brawls that Kimbo was throwing, he's back there fighting in a bare knuckle fight in a backyard alongside with Kimbo, and Kimbo gave him his start, and got him popular, and that helped him in his career. So he always gives big ups to Kimbo, and RIP to Kimbo Slice as well. But yeah, thanks again for him, Masvidal, Gamebred. He's got his promotions right now: Gamebred Boxing, Gamebred MMA. All of it's exciting, and it seems to be doing well. So I know he's going to be okay, and he's going to do good for himself. So thanks again, Gamebred, for all the memories and all the good fights, and good luck with everything on the way out. Yeah, so that's Gamebred retires, and then we move on to the big main event, which was so fucking awesome. Israel Adesanya got his belt back, man, in a big fucking way too. Like, no bigger way to do it, but then putting someone out cold like he did to Alex Pereira, and he got his belt back. And let me tell you what, he was fucking hyped to get that revenge, because this was him out cold the first time that they were in a kickboxing match. And as you could see, Pereira definitely rubbed it in his face. And his kid also came into the ring afterwards as they were announcing the winner, and did the little fall over and act like he just got knocked out. Right next to Izzy, at his feet, fell over, making fun of him for getting knocked out. We'll get back to that in a minute. But as you can see with this picture, Alex Pereira out cold Izzy with the arrows getting thrown at him. So that was a dope. Dude, I don't know how Izzy fucking thought of it. Like, how do you think to do those things after you just knock somebody out? Like, you're not yelling, screaming, jumping up and down. He fucking thinks about what Pereira does coming out to the cage with the bow and arrow. He takes it out. He fucking pulls back 3 arrows, shoots him at Alex, and fucking those 3 arrows for the 3 losses, I assume. And then he breaks the bow over his knee and walks away like a fucking gangster. I don't know how you think of it so quickly. Like Pereira wasn't even on the ground almost. and Izzy's doing the bow. Like, it was nuts. As a matter of fact, here it is. The finish. First, I should say the finish. It looks like basically Pereira's doing the same thing to Izzy that he did to him last fight, where he finished him with punches. There's a 1-2 punch, a knee, another punch, and bam, Izzy just comes back, playing a little rope-a-dope, comes back with that overhand right, follows it up with another big right behind the ear, and then just completely drops him. Like, those are some big-ass punches. A little short left uppercut right there, and then drops the hammer on him. Like I was saying, this is the same kind of setup from the last fight, except a different outcome. Instead of Izzy being the one that gets finished, or I'm sorry, I got the wrong one. Anyway, it's the same punch that Izzy had him wobbled with in the first fight. But it is the same setup that Alex Pereira did to get Izzy for that TKO in the first fight. And Izzy kind of played with it, knew what was coming, and then came up with those big overhand rights and fucking dropped him and put him out cold. So that was damn impressive. I don't know what else to say. Here's the arrows. So sick. And Izzy knows how to play that shit too, and knows how to sell it. Look at it. It was just with conviction. And then he got a little petty. Being Izzy the petty guy that he is, like he said himself, he got Alex Pereira's son back. Points at him, finds him in the crowd, points at him, and then drops down like an asshole. But that's what he said. He said, hey, this little asshole did this to me, and if his dad wasn't going to beat his ass, he said, I would have beat his ass if his dad didn't. And then he said, hey, I'm petty as fuck, bro, and I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. And so he did it. And unfortunately, the kid was 6 years old when that happened, and now he's like 12 or 13, and fucking he's in the crowd crying in his mom's arms after watching his dad get knocked out cold, which is scary, especially if you're a younger kid, right? And then you get Izzy taunting the fuck out of you and making fun of you and mocking you. Like, goddamn, that's savage as fuck. But hey, little bastards gotta learn sometimes. If that was my kid, I'd be pissed, right? I mean, Alex came out and said, Izzy's like a big kid, of course, being a bully and whatever. But Alex was the one going on on the cameras and shit, telling everybody about it and showing the video and shit. So it's like, bro, if you're not gonna fucking tell your kid, hey, that shit ain't right, don't be doing that shit, who knows? Maybe somebody told him to go in there and do it. So it might not be the kid's fault. He was like 6 years old when it happened. Somebody probably said, go do that in there. You never know. But the kid Izzy got revenge on that kid. So it's petty and it sucks, but it is what it is. And it's a fucking iconic moment. It's kind of crazy. There's a lot of mixed emotions on that one, but fuck it, right? So, and I wanted to show this because this is the dopest fucking edit I've seen in a long ass time. People do these edits on videos and they make them fucking sick. And I will, when I see, it's from TikTok. When I see the name, I'll shout them out. I can't remember at the moment, but it'll show me in just a minute. Here it is. Pay attention. This is dope. I'll let it play twice. Here we go. Dude, so sick. That's fucking nuts. Look at that. So msa.k.o is the TikTok handle. I went to his page. It looks like he does some dope shit. So go check it out. And shit, I had to give him some props for this one. The sound effects, everything, the weapons, the lightning bolts, the eyes, so dope. And it's the coolest shit I've seen. So I had to give it some shine here. So yeah, we'll let that go now. But it's so dope and I loved it. Moving on though, congrats to Izzy for getting your belt back, and I'm happy for him. So this week we have UFC on ESPN 44. It is taking place in Kansas City. We got the main event is a featherweight belt with Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen. Number 2 versus number 4. Look at Holloway's record, 23-7, right? Look at Arnold Allen, 19-1-0. Like, god damn. And basically, he's undefeated in the UFC, if I remember correctly. Yep, he's undefeated in the UFC right now. Let me see how many fights it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10-0 in the UFC. God damn. So yeah, he's been on a slow come up though. He's only had like one fight a year, couple years in a row, maybe 2 fights at the most, but it's been a slow come up for Arnold Allen. You might not even know who he is, but he's definitely a big name. And yeah, it's going to be a good fight because Max Holloway is never involved in a shitty fight. It's never slow. It's never boring. It's always a damn good fight when it comes to Max Holloway. This card isn't as stacked, obviously, as that pay-per-view because that was a pay-per-view. But near the bottom, we got Jillian Robertson versus Piera Rodriguez. Jillian Robertson is a well-known name. Just like Zach Cummings versus Ed Herman. Throwback Ed Herman. Old school fighter. Still fighting versus Zach Cummings. And then we move on to the main event, which we'll start that off here. Or I'm sorry, the main card. Oh, really? Well, we're going to have that problem again. Clay Guida versus Rafa. I'm not sure. I think it's Rafa Garcia. Either way, this is probably going to be a banger because Clay Guida is a fucking Tasmanian devil. He comes out swinging like a madman. He's got that hair It's all over the goddamn place. And yeah, it should be exciting because Clay Guida is always involved in an exciting fight as well. He's coming off a win to Scotty Holtzman. And, you know, fighting Rafa Garcia, whatever. He is Mexican, so it's probably Rafa. Rafa Garcia is also coming off a win. So, you know, I feel like this is going to be a good one. Like I said, Clay Guida is crazy. Comes out crazy. Will throw crazy punches. High volume. His cardio is insane. He never stops moving, never stops bouncing. Always doing something. And he's got good skills too when it comes to striking. You know, he could just never put it together to get to that title fight. And he's up there in age too. I think he's in his 40s. Yeah, he's 41. So I'm surprised he's still fighting. It's pretty nuts. But yeah, this should be a good fight. Like I said, it almost always is when it comes to Clay Guida. So then we got Garcia. Also has some good striking. And he's got some good submissions as well. So when it comes down to it, hopefully he has the cardio to keep up with Clay Guida. And, you know, he needs to get ahead of it. Otherwise, Clay's going to drown him with that cardio. That's pretty much what he does. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen again here. Moving on to Pedro Munhoz versus Chris Gutierrez. This should be a pretty damn good fight as well. Munhoz is coming off that no contest from Sean O'Malley. Accidental eye poke. You know, he talked some shit about the fact that O'Malley didn't seem to have any kind of concern as to the fact that he poked him in the eye. Didn't seem to give a shit. Whatever. It is what it is, right? I mean, that was his last fight, though, almost a year ago in July. Before that, he was on a 2-fight losing streak, but it was to Jose Aldo and Dominic Cruz, so shit. You know, it's like I said, those are big names. It's hard to blame them for losing to guys like that. Chris Gutierrez is on a pretty damn good win streak. 4-fight win streak, and actually there's a draw in the middle, but before that he's also had 3 wins. So it's basically like an 8-fight win streak with a draw mixed in there. So damn, I mean, and his last fight was pretty goddamn impressive. It's a sad one if you were watching it because it was Frankie Edgar and that was his retirement fight. Knocked him out cold. We'll see that in a minute. But yeah, pretty impressive for Gutierrez. So Pedro Munhoz, he's got a battle to try to win here because it's not going to be easy. But he did beat Rob Font in an impressive fashion. So, let's see, did he beat Font? I'm sorry, I think I just got confused as to who I was talking about. No, yeah, he did. No, what the hell? Yeah, he did beat Rob Font. What am I thinking? By submission. But speaking of submission, here you go. This is a pretty crazy like way to get that guillotine, but it worked and he got the sub. Gutierrez, here's that nasty fucking KO. You know, just a jumping knee straight to the chin. You know, Edgar was already just at the point where he maybe shouldn't have been fighting anymore. So taking that, I mean, he got knocked out so many times at the end. It was sad, actually. So, but he's also got some spinning attacks as well with that KO. Follows it up with some nasty elbows. So Munhoz has his work cut out for him for sure. Should be a good fight. Moving on. Tanner Boser versus Ian Cutelaba. Ian Cutelaba. I always say Ian because it looks like Ian, but it's Ian. This should be a good one. Cutelaba is always involved in it. This is like an exciting fighter card right here. Like, I'm saying the same shit for everyone because it's true. Cutelaba is always involved in an exciting fight. Boser's coming off a loss. Had a big win before that against Oven St. Preux, but his last loss was a split decision. So, shit. What happened to my mouse? There it is. Then we got Cutelaba, the Hulk. He's come out in all green paint before, and he's always screaming in people's faces. But unfortunately for him, he's coming off of 3 losses. Ryan Spann, Johnny Walker, and Kennedy and Zechiku, all good names, you know. Can't blame him for losing, but 3 losses in a row. He needs this win. But Boser's no joke. Big KO power. Nasty backhand right there. Holy shit. And yeah, but Cutelaba's got to bring out some of this. Good striking, powerful strikes, and yeah, good ground and pound. He needs to get a win here. He's 0-3 in his last 3 fights. It's not good. 3 in a row. So, good luck to him. Should be a good fight. Big hitters. Moving on. Dustin Jacoby versus Azamat Murzakanov. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I'm not sure. Azamat Murzakanov. I hope. Anyway. Murzakanov, that's Russian if you didn't know. But he is on a... Well, he's on a 2-fight win streak. Undefeated in the UFC. Came from Dana White's Contender Series. Against Dustin Jacoby, who is coming off a loss to Khalil Roundtree, which, if I remember correctly, yeah, decision. So I mean, it wasn't like some crazy loss. And he had a draw with Ian Cutelaba too. That's interesting. Anyway, Jacoby, big high kicks, good power, good striking. Versus Murzakanov. Yeah, if he gets you on the ground, he's gonna punish you. That's pretty much the deal here. So we'll see which way that goes. Looks like Jacoby coming off that loss is probably gonna be looking for a big win here. But yeah, moving on. One of the more exciting, one of the fights I'm most excited for. God, I cannot talk. Let's see. Edson Barboza versus Billy Quarantillo, or Billy Q, because Quarantillo is a fucking mouthful. It's hard to say. Billy Q, though, that's catchy as fuck. So Edson Barboza, if you remember, has some crazy spinning back kicks, which we'll see some more of right now in a minute. Coming off of 2 losses, though, but he's had some impressive wins back in the day. He's been around for quite a while, since 2012. God damn. He's been in the UFC since 2010. So, like I said, he's been around a while, and he's had some pretty good highlight KOs throughout his career. Again, though, one of those guys that hasn't been able to put it together long enough to get that title shot, or at least win a title. But Billy Q is coming off a win against Alexander Hernandez in December of last year. Lost to Shane Burgos, though, before that, who is one of the big fights against Olivier Aubin-Mercier in the PFL this week. So, yeah, that's a big name. Anyway, fucking pop-ups, man. Billy Q, though, with these big punches. Hopefully he comes in here ready to take on Barboza, and watch out for those goddamn kicks and land some of these big punches on him to try to get that win. He's got some good submissions as well. So, you know, he could do everything. He's well-rounded. But if Barboza starts spinning, you better watch out for that fucking kick, because he puts people on roller skates. This one's just hilarious. Poor Kevin Lee. I think he had this happen to him a couple times, where he's just like a fucking baby deer, just struggling to stay on his feet. But here's the craziest KO of them all. Against Terry Edom. That was so insane. I watched that shit live. That was way back in the day. It was nuts. But yeah, that's a pretty impressive fucking kick. All I wanted to say was, Barboza just killed a guy. Because that's what it looked like. Yeah, nasty KO right there. Anyway, moving on to the main event, Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen. This should be a banger. Like I said before, Holloway is never involved in a boring fight. Ever. Like, you can't say, I said it a lot that people are involved in really exciting fights, but hardly ever is, not ever, is Max Holloway involved in a shitty fight. Which is pretty impressive. And, you know, he's coming off a loss to Alexander Volkanovski. He's fought Volk 3 times, lost all 3 times. Volk just has his number. It's unfortunate. But he had impressive showings versus Yair Rodriguez and Kelvin Kattar. It's just one, I mean, there's a lot of decisions. Like, usually people that have decision, I'm usually like, fucking A, this is going to be boring. Or, shit, this might not be a good fight. But the thing is with Max Holloway, volume, punches and bunches, technique, thrown out the window sometimes. And it's just exciting. He's in a fucking war telling you, let's throw down right now. You're going to see some more of that in a minute. But that's the type of fighter Max Holloway is. He's that type of dude, and he's probably the reason why I say it is what it is as much as I do, because this motherfucker burns that shit in your head, says it all the time, and he says he's blessed all the time too, which is funny. But anyway, Arnold Allen is the opponent. He is on an, like I said earlier, impressive ass win streak. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 fight win streak. I did that earlier too. But undefeated in the UFC. There's that pressure to stay undefeated in the UFC. Is he going to be able to keep that? I mean, he had a TKO in his last fight, but Kelvin Kattar had an injury. He injured his knee. So TKO before that, decision, submission. So he's got a fair amount of mixed up, you know, ends to his fights. So you never know what can happen. But Max Holloway has some of the best boxing in the UFC, and he'll tell you. But the fucking annihilation of Brian Ortega, I was like, dude, somebody needs to stop this fucking fight. This is one of the ones where I was like, please throw in the towel, do something. Ortega was so bloody and so busted up, and it almost looked like he didn't know where he was most of the time. He was just like out on his feet, on autopilot. It was crazy. Insane fight. But Holloway also acts, this is him telling everybody he's the best boxer in the UFC. He gets hit, doesn't give a shit, comes back. What? Matrix style, just moving around, not even looking. Pretty insane. Max is entertaining as hell. And here's that iconic shit with Lamas saying, let's throw down right now, and that's what they do in the last few seconds of the fight. You know, there's not a lot of connections, but except for that one was good. But there's not a lot of connecting, but just to watch two guys just fucking throw down like that, swing it out. Fucking speechless. That's what I was after that. I was like, holy fuck. I was so pumped. I was jumping up and down. Like, that was one of those natediaz times where you're just like, yeah. It's just fucking flexing. This was insane, man. I mean, I get chills watching that shit again. So, Arnold Allen better watch out if he doesn't want to become one of those people that gets into a firefight. But, you know, he's got good hand movement, good boxing as well. He keeps his hands in tight and, you know, good technical punches. Here's him just kind of going off on Dan Hooker. You know, throws a kick in the mix of that, runs after him, keeps him on his back foot, and, you know, of just a barrage of strikes. So Arnold Allen has what it takes, but, you know, Holloway is a different kind of dog. So let's see if he can catch up and keep up with Max Holloway. But if he does, you know, this is what he did to Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker is no joke whatsoever. Dan Hooker is a fucking savage too. So for him to do this to him, Arnold Allen, you got a good chance against Max Holloway. But I love Max Holloway, so let's see who gets it done. Let's see who's in there to take the most. I don't know what kind of punishment Arnold Allen can take. He can definitely hand it out. Never seen him take a lot of punches from what I remember. So can he hang with Max Holloway? Because Max Holloway has a chin like no other. So should be exciting. Watch that shit on Saturday. I don't know the fucking time. I don't remember. ESPN Plus though. Go watch it there as always. It's probably an earlier one. I will be out at Country Thunder. Probably not very good service, but I'll try to catch what I can. And I'll definitely have a show covering everything next week. So enjoy that shit. And whoa, that was a weird sound. The hell was that? I don't know if you heard that, but I heard it in my ears. Anyway, that's about it. Like I said, I was going to keep it kind of short. You know, I've been doing like hour and 40-minute podcasts the past few times. The Watch Party podcast was like 3 hours, but that's because we watched the whole damn card. Anyway, I got to wrap it up. I need to go do a bunch of shit. So, and also I got to finish all this stuff. So, uploading to audio platforms again. If you want to listen to audio only in the future or re-listen to this or finish this in audio form, whatever you want to do, it's on all the platforms everywhere. Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts, it's there. If you don't find it on a platform that you usually listen to podcasts on, let me know. Comment on this video, hit me up on social media, let me know, and I'll get it on there for you. I've done it before for other people. Didn't know the app that they were using, but I found the platform and I got it put on there. So check it out. Listen there if you want to, or come back and watch here anytime, every Thursday, 7 p.m. Subscribe, like, share with a friend, tell somebody about it. Thanks for all the support. Please keep supporting me. Like the video if you're watching it. Please, it just hit that little thumbs up, man. I forget to do it all the time too. I get it. We're all busy. We're all, paying attention to 6 things at once. But when you're looking at the video and you see that little thumbs up, hit that shit. That helps me out. I appreciate it. Leave a comment if you want, even if it means, hey, please try not to tell me I suck, because I get it. But if you need to, go ahead. Otherwise, tell me if you like it. Tell me something. Hit up the chat, the comments, and next time I'm on, hit up the chat. So anyway, also the Rumble podcast Sunday night at 7 p.m. Arizona time. Also Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. as well on the Rumble podcast YouTube channel. I'm a part of that podcast. Tuesday nights we talk Tech Tuesday. We go over headlines all the time, talk about movies and shows. Sundays we do drafts. It's fun. Come check it out. And thanks to Trent for being in the chat as always and supporting. I appreciate you and I love you. Tenet Trent on all social media, YouTube, and go follow her on Twitch. She's a gamer. It's fun to watch her game and talk shit to people. It's a good time. So, and I like to support her because she supports me too. It's all love. So thank you guys as well for all the support. Come back next week. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the fucking fights. Hopefully I'm not too hungover on Monday. And yeah, I'm out. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Peace.